One of the things that went wrong in Iraq for the United States is we went in there on the theory of being a cop, that Saddam Hussein was a threat to world order, that he had weapons of mass destruction, that we had to get rid of him. And that was actually a view I still embrace and endorse. But suddenly we went into Iraq, we discovered there were no WMD, or at least WMD that would threaten us. And we decided to adopt a new mission, which was to be a priest. We stopped being in the business of enforcing order and went into the business of trying to change hearts and save souls. That's what priests do. And so we went from a war, in which we got rid of this tyrant, to this mission to turn Iraq into something that I don't think it ever could be. We went into Iraq to make an example of Saddam Hussein, and we ended up staying in Iraq to make Iraq exemplary. And the difference between example and exemplary was measured in about 4,000 lives, and from success to fiasco. I talk about this with respect to what it means to be a policeman, which is that the job of a policeman is simply to enforce order. It's not to transform societies. It's not to make your dreams come true. For the last 20 years, since the end of the Cold War, one of the deepest failures of American foreign policy is that we got into this business of trying to make our dreams come true in foreign policy. Let's have a peace process between Israel and the Palestinians. Dream come true type of foreign policy. Or a peace process in, I don't know, Africa, throughout the world, East Timor. There's a lot more in common between the Clinton foreign policy and the Bush foreign policy, Bush too, than people realize. It was Rousseauian. It was the idea that man is essentially good, and the business of American power is to kind of, bulldoze the way towards bringing out the goodness in man. And the business of American power is to kind of, bulldoze the way towards bringing out the goodness in man. And the business of American power is to kind of, bulldoze the way towards bringing out the goodness in man. Towards bringing out the goodness in man. Towards bringing out the goodness in man. How to think about what are the things we must not allow to happen. All right, I don't know, Iran with nuclear weapons, Russian seizure of Estonia, a war between China and the Japanese, or between one of our treaty allies in East Asia. And let's focus on that. Let's be a policeman. Let's be a policeman. Let's be a policeman. Let's think about the things we need to do to enforce order. Let's not try to be in the business of changing hearts and minds. Let's simply be in the business of trying to maintain certain rules of the road, certain expectations about behavior. That's what policemen do. And that's actually a worthy role for the United States. I would conclude with just this thought. People say, oh, we don't want to be the world's cop. There are great costs to being the world's cop. I didn't grow up wanting to be a cop, but none of you would want to live in a neighborhood or a world where there is no cop. What are the alternatives? Is collective security the alternative? It would be nice if collective security were the alternative, but everywhere it's been tried, it generally tends to fail or not work as we would like. Would we like a balance of power? Well, a balance of power with whom? And are we really ready to say to the Chinese, East Asia is your zone? Or to the Europe, or to the former Soviet states, Russia will be your master. I don't think we're ready to do that. It's perfectly okay if the balance of power is between, common civilization, but even the balance of power failed on the eve of the First World War. So balance of power doesn't seem to work. And then there's the Fukuyama vision, which is also Immanuel Kant's vision of perpetual peace through democracy and capitalism. But don't forget that 100 years ago, on the eve of the First World War, the two countries who were the world's largest trading partners were Germany and Great Britain. These countries traded with each other. These countries were highly advanced European civilizations, and guess what? They spent 4 years murdering and butchering one another in the First World War. So the alternatives to Pax Americana, the alternatives to the world's policemen, I don't think really exist. This is a role that we ought to embrace.